Another thing is you're never done learning. If you're a student now, an intern and approaching graduation, don't think that your learning is done as soon as you graduate. It must continue. The technology continues to evolve, and if you don't, you're actually moving backwards. So you need to keep abreast of what's happening in the industry, take online courses, attend conferences and seminars like you are, staying late on a Friday night. Participate in professional societies and organizations like IEEE, Society of Automotive Engineers, INCOSE is the International Council on Systems Engineering. And these are just a few, there are many others, but participate or be aware of them, and you interact with experts in those fields, and you learn from them. Learn by doing. So what Ani explained, the hands-on controls is an application of this, and I'm glad to hear you're doing it. Try some projects. So I mean, do what you're doing now, but also those inexpensive development kits, they're $20 to $50. I don't know what that is in local currency, but they're relatively inexpensive. They're not thousands of US dollars, they're tens of US dollars. Open source tools. So try something, make something. Teach a class or give a technical presentation, whether at work or at some industry event or at school. Coach or mentor a student team like a robotics competition. And I can just tell you from experience that you learn a lot by teaching other people. You can't just know something at the surface. You actually learn things very deeply in the process of teaching others. As far as embedded skills, be proficient in at least one programming language. The language will be industry and application dependent, so you can't say, which one language should I learn? Depends on what you're doing with it. For example, C is standard in automotive powertrain for now. Python is increasingly popular in embedded and IoT. So if you're a C programmer, C++, Java, and you're looking for another language, Python is becoming more and more popular, so that may be a good one to learn. Understand and be able to work with multitask systems. So a lot of times when people write programs, it's just a big loop, but complex systems use operating systems. So learn how to, if you need to make a bare metal scheduler that just has interactive coordinating between tasks, learn about real-time operating systems. And there are open source ones like FreeRTOS or something like that available, and there's online resources to learn it. Linux and Android are becoming more popular with Internet of Things. Understand multi-layered architecture, for example, AUTOSAR. Are you familiar with AUTOSAR? Can you give me a thumbs up if you're familiar with AUTOSAR? I'm not sure how widespread that is. Usually it's the customer that requires AUTOSAR. So I see relatively few thumbs. So AUTOSAR is an open, you can look at autosar.org. It would be usually customer driven. The customer says, we want you to be AUTOSAR. But it's a project structure, defined interfaces and organization of the components and what they do and what levels they are in the architecture. And it facilitates development and testing and debugging, by the way. You're debugging an individual component rather than a whole system. And it facilitates component reuse, which is why the OEMs, the customers want it. They can farm out the development of AUTOSAR components, and as long as it follows the standard, they can integrate them and they plug together because they have that defined interface. Also be familiar with processor architecture, even if you're a software engineer. Maybe you're not a hardware engineer, but you need to understand the processor architecture that your code's going to run in. ARM Cortex is very widely used, so if you're not familiar with ARM, you may want to look on their website, look for some online training on ARM Cortex. There's many flavors of the ARM Cortex depending on what it's being used for, but it's good to be aware of it and increase your knowledge of that. And then finally, work-life balance. We do have to work to pay the bills, but strive to develop your career. Don't just have a job. It's good to work hard for a specific objective, but don't burn out from continued overwork. You can't maintain that long without affecting your health. Give yourself time to relax and recharge, and don't sacrifice your health or relationships for your career. You can always get another job, but certain things you can't get back. So keep your health and energy in balance, because you'll have another challenge. You'll need that for the next challenge. And steer your career towards something you enjoy. Don't just work. Try to steer your career towards something you enjoy. Don't just chase after a promotion for more money or a higher position. You can move up the ladder, and certainly you'll get paid more and have status, but you want to also make sure that it's fulfilling. You could be highly paid for something that you hate, and you have to deal with that. And money only goes so far. You want to be fulfilled.